This is the new Samsung Gear 360, the company's second-gen portable panoramic camera. Like the original, it employs a pair of opposing cameras, each equipped with extremely wide-angle lenses in order to film literally everything around it, perfect for sharing via scrollable panoramic video or as an immersive VR headset experience. With a new look, new hardware, and some new software features, is this new Gear 360 a worthwhile upgrade over the original? I'm Stephen Shank with PhoneArena, bringing you an early look at what Samsung's latest 360-degree camera can do.
The original Gear 360 was a camera like few others, built like some kind of robotic eyeball with a pair of opposing fisheye lenses connected to two 15-megapixel cameras. By shooting with both cameras at once and stitching together their output and software, Samsung was able to create a product that could film seamless panoramic video. But for as interesting as that initial hardware was, it wasn't without its limitations. The first Gear 360 was a little too large to be pocket-friendly, and while we really liked the mini tripod base, it wasn't super convenient for handheld usage, especially with its awkward button placement. The new 2017 Gear 360 immediately addresses some of those concerns. Replacing the tripod with a rigid attached base both gives the camera a built-in hand grip, as well as affords Samsung the extra space it needs to shrink down the main eyeball part of the camera, making it so much easier to carry around on your person. We also see smart decisions like the relocation of the main shutter button from directly on top of the camera to midway up that base, in the perfect position to hit it with your thumb while holding the Gear 360. Another, maybe more subtle improvement is the choice to expose the Gear 360's USB Type-C charging port. Now, last year the port was underneath a water-resistant flap, making it awkward to access while filming. Now, you can keep the new Gear 360 plugged in and powered for as long as you want, without interfering with your shots or compromising water resistance. Most of the time, though, that's not going to be an issue, as the Gear 360 has some decent battery life. The 1160 mAh battery is a little smaller than last year's, as well as no longer replaceable, but easily got us through a full weekend of filming short videos without even hitting the battery's halfway point. Film larger shots or more of them and you could run into trouble, but the capacity really does seem adequate for casual usage. And speaking of water resistance, the new Gear 360 returns with the same sort of IP53 rating as last year's model. That offers protection against spraying the camera with water, but doesn't protect against full-on immersion. Be warned. Like last year, you have your pick of shooting modes. Those include the full dual camera mode, or shooting from just one of the two lenses, your pick. Rather than giving you a 180-degree half-sphere image when doing one of those single-camera shots, the Gear 360 instead generates a much more palatable widescreen fisheye lens video. And the critical bit there is that it still looks pretty good without any special playback tricks. If you're going to be sharing video with maybe some tech-challenged viewers, this is the way to go. One slight downside to this new camera is that raw resolution is only half of what it was last year. Despite this, the new Gear 360 does have a higher max resolution video mode, now hitting 4K, but only at 24 frames per second. Dialing back from there, you'll find plenty of 2K and HD quality options with frame rates as high as 120 FPS. And while the new Gear 360's dual 8.4 megapixel cameras can capture combined 15 megapixel still shots, single camera images are limited to just 3 megapixels. That sounds bad, but it's not a deal breaker. The fact is that we don't consume this sort of imagery in the same way as stuff captured with traditional cameras, and the novelty of these incredibly wide angles, or the ability to point your virtual camera any direction you choose during playback, tends to outweigh the benefit you might get from being able to see lots of tiny detail. And compared to last year's Gear 360, the vastly improved form factor and portability of this new model carry more weight than just being able to record more pixels at once. Device compatibility gets a shot in the arm with new iOS support, working with the last two generations of iPhones. That's a big step for Samsung, but it still falls short when it comes to improving compatibility among Android devices. While the new Gear 360 supports more Samsung Galaxy phones than last year's model, that still excludes Android phones from literally every single other manufacturer under the sun. It's beyond annoying and is easily our least favorite thing about Samsung's camera. The Gear 360 app gives you a live view of the camera's feed, lets you swap lenses and set shooting modes and remotely trigger recordings. You can then transfer that footage to your Galaxy phone, view it in a variety of playback modes, including with a Gear VR headset, and share your panoramic videos with friends via services like YouTube. That all sounds pretty familiar, but this year adds the big bonus of supporting live streaming via YouTube, Facebook, or Samsung's own Gear VR service. Those playback options all work well, but transferring videos can take a bit of time, and doing so can seriously eat through the Gear 360's battery life. and in an unintuitive move, the recompressed videos that end up on your phone tend to have much larger file sizes than the original clips stored on the camera's micro SD card. We also found the live streaming options to be a little tricky to set up, but as we're evaluating the Gear 360 with an early version of the app, we're not going to get too stressed out about that just yet.
The new Gear 360 is mostly a step in the right direction for Samsung. It's much more compact than the original, a bit easier to use, and offers some compelling new functionality like live streaming. We wish Samsung would work on Android compatibility and maybe ruggedize the camera a bit, but the iOS support is welcome progress. The move to lower-res camera sensors is a curious one, but it might be justified if the price is right. So what is it? Well, that's a good question, and Samsung hasn't confirmed anything just yet. We're guessing the new camera will come in with a price south of the original's $350 launch price, and if it does, we can easily see ourselves recommending it to existing Samsung users. But if you don't already have a compatible phone, or if the camera ends up costing half as much as the phone itself, that's going to be a much harder sell. I'm Stephen Shank with PhoneArena. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any more Samsung mobile device coverage, including our upcoming Gear VR review.